are in the Hoodwood. I'm the Black Bandit, KJ Green, welcoming you to another edition of Sports from the Hoodwood. Coming up in this edition, could this be the end of the line for Bill Belichick? The Patriots are 1-5 and running out of answers. Take a look at what's wrong with the team in New England. The Pac-12 will not go quietly. You got Oregon, you got Washington, you've got a bevy of teams in the soon-to-be no more Pac-12. Take a look at what they're doing right. The Eagles and Niners both go down. What the Browns and Jets did to knock off the NFL's last unbeaten teams. Going to be all over the place this week. Fat Dap and Head Slapper crazy. Final word from the Woods poignant. And hey, NFL Week 7 picks are also on tap. Got a lot of ground to cover, so put on your crash helmets and buckle your seatbelts. It's Sports from the Hoodwood coming at you. Let's go!
You're tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for the most honest, unfiltered commentary and insight on the world of sports. Now, once again, here's Hoodwood's hometown hero, KJ Green.
Greetings in the Hoodwood, where it just is what it is. I don't have any witty thing, crazy thing to say this week, I guess, because I didn't write it up. I'm your man, KJ Green. Welcome you back to the Hoodwood, and let's just get right into it. Last week in the NFL, another crazy week, and I'm not getting the picks. That's going to be in a little bit, but I noticed something, and it's a strange occurrence because I can remember when this team was bad, when they weren't the dominant team and, always winning 11 and 12 games every year. Of course, it maybe has something to do with some guy named Brady, possibly. But the New England Patriots are bad. They're really bad. And I was looking at some film about them, and they're 1-5, and you don't see anything really resembling anything of a renaissance on their radar. They went 8-9 last year, missed the playoffs for the second time in 3 years. But you thought, okay, Bill Belichick is a type of coach. He's going to reload, he's going to recalibrate, and things are going to be better. Picking up Ezekiel Elliott from the Cowboys looked like a slick move. The Patriots have always been that type of team that have gotten the players and made things happen. But it's looking more and more increasingly like it was some guy named Brady who basically was the glue that held everything together. The Patriots this year are bad. 1-5, and their one win, a 15-10 Week 3 win against the Jets in Gotham, looks more and more like a freaky outlier than a real win. And they lost their first 2 games, and granted it was against the Eagles and the Dolphins, 2 of the top teams in the NFL. No one expected them to win those games. But to lose to the Cowboys the way they did, just an awful 38-3 beating. Then to come home and get shut out by the Saints. A Bill Belichick coach team just doesn't look that pathetic. And they're looking like they have no clue. Mac Jones has regressed badly. And to watch him play and watch the Patriots offense just flounder. They have scored a grand total of 3 touchdowns in the past 4 games. 3. Mac Jones has 1 passing touchdown, and Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott have a rushing touchdown each. The Pats have scored 72 points total. They give up 72 points in 2 weeks to the Cowboys and the Saints back to back. It's a sad state of affairs in Foxborough. You don't really expect a Bill Belichick coach team to be that bad. I mean, when your only team that you're better than is the New York Giants in scoring. Make it make sense. And the problem is this: there's nothing on the horizon that's a portent of positive things to come. Their offense is weak. Their passing game is putrid. Their running game, Ezekiel Elliott has been a massive bust. Their defense keeps getting pushed around, and you're looking around and asking, has the game passed Bill Belichick by? He's not making the adjustments. He's not making the in-game and game-to-game adjustments that look like it's going to right the ship. And the forecast isn't getting any better, people. If you're a Patriots fan, you've grown spoiled. Over the last 20, 25 years, I'll say go all the way back, just even going back to the Parcells era, when they went to the Super Bowl in '96. They kind of fell off a little bit under Pete Carroll, but they were decent. And when Bill Belichick got there in 2000, and they had back-to-back losing seasons in 99 and 2000, but they got better. And they got increasingly better. They won a Super Bowl after 2001 and have been one of the most consistently winning teams over the past 20 years. Now, of course, a lot of people, as I said before, attribute that to that guy named Brady. And he was a big cause of that. It was a big reason why that team was so good for so long. After he left, went to Tampa Bay, they kind of fell off a little bit, going 10-7 and 8-9. But you didn't expect them to fall off this far and be this bad. And looking at the schedule, cuz it's not going to get any better if you're a Patriots fan. I mean, you've got the Bills coming up this week. Good luck. You've got the Dolphins in South Beach. Good luck. The Commanders, possibly. But they're at least showing, they at least can score. The Patriots have a problem scoring. Then you have the Colts in Frankfurt, a bye week, and then the Giants in Gotham. The schedule ain't getting no easier. And you're going to see them, and you're going to see this team in prime time quite a bit down the stretch. A Thursday night game, a Monday night game, a primetime game on Christmas Eve. They play 3 straight primetime games in December, and they can't get flexed out of them. These aren't games that you can flex them. It's going to be a sad situation in Foxborough, and it's not going to get any better. Now we're going to get back into the NFL. Some more looks at teams in NFL as well as the Week 7 picks here in a little bit. But let's shift gears and go to college football for the moment. And I was looking over the numbers, and I was really surprised. The Pac-12, whose demise is already on the horizon. You have 4 teams are headed to the Big 10, 4 teams headed to the Big 12. It's basically a couple teams going to the. I'm not even getting into teams going to the ACC. We're not even going to talk about that. But you have the Pac-12 in its penultimate season. They are not going quietly. This is a conference that is loaded. And you wonder, did they pull the plug on it too soon? Did these teams jump out too quickly? I mean, USC and UCLA, the LA-based teams, of course, running to the Big Ten, they're looking for the big money markets. And with Oregon and Washington joining them, those are probably the 4 most powerhouse teams in the Pac-12. Then you have Arizona, Utah, Arizona State, and Colorado jumping to the Big 12. Decent teams. And of course, Cal and Stanford now jumping to the ACC, leaving Oregon State and Washington State to fend for themselves. we've already detailed the breakups of the conference, and I'm not going to go into details of who, what's, and where's and why's. And again, but if you're looking at the standings of the Pac-12, there are 6 teams right now in the top 25 that are in the Pac-12. 6. That's the equal to the SEC, who have 6 teams as well, and that is more than the Big Ten, who have 4. More than the Big 12, who have 2. More than the ACC, who have 4. 6 teams from the Pac-12 are ranked. USC, Washington, Oregon State, Oregon, Utah, and UCLA. And that's going pretty much in order of the standings right now. Not necessarily the number, the ranking or anything, but Washington heads the pack at 5th rank. And then you have Oregon at 9, Oregon State at 12, Utah at 14, USC at 18, and UCLA at 25. But the depth of this conference, and we're not even getting into Colorado. Washington State's a decent team in its own right. But, the media's all looking at Colorado and what's going on in Boulder. The Pac-12, from top to bottom, is looking like one of the best conferences in the country. And I know SEC honk is going, the SEC is the best conference. I didn't say they were the best. I said they were one of the best. The depth of teams from top to bottom are all good. And there are no pushovers in this conference. Ask Colorado, who blew a 29-0 lead to Stanford. Sounds like a head slap, possibly. But look at the great game between Washington and Oregon. Right down to the wire in Seattle. That was a fun game to watch. And Pac-12 After Dark still is providing some of the best football that you're probably not watching. If you're up late on Saturday night, those are games that are must-see TV. But the media doesn't want to talk about that. Deion Sanders complains about 8 p.m. starts. 8 p.m. is prime time. It may not be prime time in the East, but it's still a decent time to play football. Play it under the lights. The Pac-12 is good. Very good. And you're probably not watching it. And with the conference breaking up come end of the year, this is a swan song. Could it be possible that you might see more than one Pac-12 team in the college playoff? Now you know the Pac-12 is wishing, damn, if we could have just held out just long enough for it to be at 12-team playoff. We could qualify more than one team in that. Like I said, the Pac-12 is worth watching, and you should check it out. Let's take a time out, come back, and we'll look at why the Eagles and the 49ers took losses. Sports from the Hoodwood comes back at you after this.
Is today your last day on Earth because you are being deployed to space tomorrow? Have you just turned 18 and you're ready to get out of your parents' house? Has your granddaughter gotten her boyfriend pregnant? Whatever your reason, you need us at GottaGetMarriedNow.com. We specialize in last-minute weddings. Active duty, military veterans and retired discounts are available. Visit us at GottaGetMarriedNow.com.
Tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's premier destination for no-nonsense commentary, thorough analysis, and logical insight on the world of sports. Now here's the man that Wikipedia and Google call for sports fact check, your host, KJ Green.
You are back in the Hoodwood. My name is KJ Green, and we'll shift gears back to the NFL. And every time I think something's going to make sense, it goes the opposite way. The 49ers, fresh off of an absolute evisceration of the Cowboys, go to Cleveland, take on the Browns. The Browns don't have Deshaun Watson. Now, their defense is good. I will give them that. But the 49ers should have been able to ease their way to a win over the Browns. Somebody never gave the Browns the memo because they hung tough with the 49ers pretty much the entire game. But it seemed like the Niners were going to be able to get away with the win. They took even though they lost Christian McCaffrey, even though they lost Deebo Samuel, they still were able to grind out what looked like it was going to be an ugly win in Cleveland. Road wins are always ugly. They always seem like they're a grind, especially with a West Coast team playing an early game, which is usually a bad portent. Most of the time, but I took the Niners playing on in the 1 p.m. Eastern time slot. I figured it would be a good pickup. Well, with the Niners struggling to get their offense moving, but they had a 17-13 lead early in the fourth quarter after Jordan Mason scored. And yet they looked like they were going to pull this one out. The Browns got close to 17-16 and looked like they were going to have a, good job, Browns, close but no cigar. I mean, they're the Browns, for crying out loud. They don't rally for wins. Well, the Niners didn't have a closing kick in them. The Browns did, and hit a 29-yard field goal to take the lead with 1:40 to play. The game had seen everything but an ending, and the Niners came right back down the field. Problem, they didn't finish the job, missing a field goal at the gun to secure Browns' 1917 win. And you figure the Browns, decent team, they're up and down, they're all over the place. They're a team that you can't put your finger on. 1 week they're looking dominant, the way they dominated the Bengals. Then they boo-boo to bed against the Steelers. And then the next week they're playing dominant against the Titans. And then they play absolutely flat the next week. Then they jump up and beat the Niners. Make it make sense. Now, many people are starting to knock Brock Purdy, saying without the tools and the talent of Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, that he's a system quarterback and is going to get exposed. Will this portend for a bad future for the 49ers? If McCaffrey is not at full strength, it may be. That dominant running game is what fuels the Niners. Now, that was the 1 o'clock game. The 4 o'clock game that made no sense was the Eagles and the Jets. The Eagles had never lost to the Jets, ever. 12 games since the AFL-NFL merger, 12 times the Eagles had beaten the Jets. The Jets had never, ever beaten the Eagles. And the way the game looked, you figured the Eagles were going to steamroll the Jets again. You don't trust Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson cannot play a coherent offense. But there was a small problem. The Eagles could not put the Jets away. They took the lead early and was leading 14-9 at the half. And many people thought this should have been a blowout. The Jets defense makes games ugly. They turn them into grinders and make teams have to hang around. And the Jets were playing at least competent ball. But it was still the Eagles' game to lose. They had the ball and the lead in the fourth quarter, deep into the fourth quarter. They hit the 2-minute warning up 2 with the ball. And the Jets were fast running out of timeouts and options. Why did Jalen Hurts throw a pass on 3rd down? It made no sense. Trying to fit a pass into Goddard. It gets intercepted at midfield and run back 45 yards. The Jets were in business at the Philadelphia 8. And even though I knock the Jets offense as being lackluster and incompetent, you give a team like that the keys to the end zone and they're going to punch it in. Unless they're the New York Giants. But that's not material now. The Jets took one play to punch it into the end zone and convert a 2-point conversion, stealing the game 20-14. Snuffy has made the point. Do the 72 Dolphins toast the Browns and the Jets with a 72 split of champagne? Once again, another season goes by and no team runs the table undefeated. The earliest since 2017 that there are no undefeated teams left on the NFL docket. Now, there are still a couple winless teams. Carolina, I'm looking at you. But the Eagles and the Niners go down within 3 hours of one another. And champagne toasts are being raised in South Florida as another season goes by the board without an undefeated team. Are the Aces in trouble? Seriously though, are the Aces in trouble? Snuffy last week said that he had picked the Aces in 5. And after the first 2 games, which the Aces thoroughly dominated the New York Liberty, his prediction looked kind of hollow. But the Liberty took game 3 in Brooklyn, 87-73, and the Aces are now in trouble without Chelsea Gray or Kia Stokes, who suffered foot injuries and are motoring around the Barclays Center in Brooklyn on crutches and a scooter, respectively. Are the Aces in trouble? The Liberty got back to that kind of grimy, gritty type of game that got them 32 wins in the WNBA season. Are the Aces in trouble? Aja Wilson cannot carry this team by herself, though she has it for frequent bursts. But you wonder, without Gray and Stokes, can the Liberty rally around to win Game 4 on Wednesday night and then possible Game 5, which will be back in Vegas on Friday night? Are the Aces in trouble? No team has ever come back from an 0-2 deficit to win the WNBA Finals. And only the Connecticut Sun went to a 4th game. Are the Aces in trouble? Point to ponder. But my money is still on the Aces winning the title. I might have to go with my man Snuffy here and go 5 games, where you see that the New York Liberty will be able to hold home court, home serve, and force a Game 5 back in Vegas Friday night. That being said, if this series does come down to a 5th game, it's like a 7th game in any other series. All bets are off. When you have 1 game for the title, you never know what's going to happen. My money is still on the Aces, coming up Aces, but the Liberty are not going quietly. And that's what's making this WNBA Finals that much more fascinating. Let's take another time out. Come back with the NFL Week 7 picks. Alright, last week, try to improve on my numbers. Sports from the Hoodwood comes back at you after this.
I'm actor Rajim A. Gross. Some of the studios would like to scan our images and only pay us for 1 day's worth of work and be able to use our likenesses, our voices, our mannerisms as computer-generated characters, not only in the movie that we might be filming in, but in all future films as well. That's not fair. And I thank the SAG board members that are fighting for my rights as an actor to work on a union film. So I just want to say, standing in complete solidarity with everyone. Thank you.
You're tuned in to Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for opinion, analysis, and insight on the world of sports. Here now is the man banned from sports trivia contests in 38 states and 4 Canadian provinces, and not to mention Guam. Your host, KJ Green.
You're back in the Hoodwood. My name is KJ Green, and let's get into the Week 7 NFL picks. Last week, I did all right. 9 wins. It was one of those weeks where you kind of saw some of the upsets coming and some of the losses were kind of, no one saw the Niners and the Eagles losing, least of all me, and both of them were losses. But I was decent enough to get the lock in the Thursday night game. The upset has just been a disaster the whole doggone year. So presented for your perusal, approval, and review are the Week 7 NFL picks, with the lines being provided by ESPN for entertainment comparison purposes only. If you bet the Lions and lose, that's on you. Don't call me. I'm broke. I have no money to spare you. And of course, all times are listed in Eastern Daylight Time, and check your local listings for the times and games in your area. You can also consult 506 Sports. They have an excellent coverage map of the games being shown across the country, both the early and late games. Let's get started with the early games, the 1 o'clock games on Sunday, October 22nd. This is a CBS doubleheader weekend. First on the docket, we have the 3-2 Browns taking on the 3-3 Colts at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. 1 p.m. kickoff on CBS. The Browns are 2-point favorites. Last week, the Browns defeated the 49ers Last week, the Browns defeated the 49ers 19-17, while the Colts lost to the Jaguars 37-20. Fast fact here is the Browns have allowed the fewest total yards, fewest passing yards, fewest points, and fewest first downs in the NFL. The Browns shocked the world as they played a gritty, grimy game to take down the 49ers, handing them their first loss. They head to Indianapolis to take on a Colts team who looked pretty much discombobulated against the Jaguars. Gardner Minshew is the Colts quarterback for the foreseeable future, since Anthony Richardson may be going on the IR. For the Browns, no one knows who's going to be the quarterback. Is it going to be Deshaun Watson? Is it going to be P.J. Walker? No one knows. But everybody knows that Browns defense is hella tough. And I think that Minshew will have a very tough sledding against this tough defense. And I think the Browns can eke out just enough offense to grind out a win. The pick is Cleveland. Next on the docket, we have the 3-3 Raiders taking on the 1-5 Bears at Soldier Field in Chicago. 1 p.m. kickoff on Fox. The Raiders are 3-point favorites. Last week, the Raiders defeated the Patriots 23-17, while the Bears lost to the Vikings 19-13. The Bears are a mess. Well, what else is new? And the Bears are now in search of a quarterback. Tyson Bagent. Oh, Tyson Bagent? Who is that? He's a starter for the Bears. He's taking over for Justin Fields, who is nursing a sore thumb. Well, the Raiders can't really brag about their tough quarterback because Jimmy Garoppolo is out with a bad back. That means Brian Hoyer, is he still in this league? Is going to be getting the start for the Raiders. So you have backup quarterbacks, sad sack offenses. The Bears defense has been playing decent. But for some reason, I can't trust their offense. And when you can't trust an offense, even though the Raiders are a West Coast or Western team heading east for an early start, and I usually don't like picking those teams, something tells me that the Raiders are going to do just enough to pull out the win. I don't have faith in Josh McDaniels, and I'm hoping that he's going to at least coach his team better enough to get a win. Hoodwood pick is Las Vegas. Next on the docket, we have the 3-3 Commanders taking on the 1-5 Giants at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. 1 o'clock kickoff on CBS. The Commanders are 2-point favorites. Last week, the Commanders defeated the Falcons 24-16, while the Giants lost to the Bills 14-9. Now, the fast fact here is if the Giants lose, their playoff chances will pretty much evaporate because only the 1970 Bengals made the playoffs after a 1-6 start. The Commanders played decent. They went down to the ATL and knocked off the Falcons. Now head to Gotham to face the Giants, who played decently and honorably and went down to the last play before losing to the Bills. I don't trust the Commanders one bit. Their offense, led by Sam Howell, plays in fits and starts. And their defense just is too wishy-washy to be a consistent team. Now, the Giants are a full-fledged mess. Tyrod Taylor may get another start if Daniel Jones isn't able to go because of a bad neck. The Giants have been playing decently, capably. I'm going to regret this, but for something just keeps telling me that the Commanders are due for another pratfall. And what better pratfall to be than against your divisional rival? Lord help me, but I'm taking the New York Giants. That'll be the Hoodwood upset of the week. Next on the docket, we have the 5-1 Lions taking on the 4-2 Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. 1 p.m. kickoff on Fox. The Ravens are 3-point favorites. Last week, the Lions defeated the Buccaneers 20-6, while the Ravens defeated the Titans 24-16. The fast fact here is the Lions have won 4 straight games by double digits for the first time since 1991. Now, the Lions are looking tough. Even though they won their last game against the Buccaneers, despite losing junkyard dog running back David Montgomery and Jared Goff having a so-so game. But the Lions defense is highly underrated. They head to Baltimore to take on a Ravens team who's been coalescing pretty well and are winning kind of grimy and ugly themselves. Lamar Jackson is at his whirling dervish best, and the offense is playing a little bit down to sorts. Justin Tucker is kidding field goal after field goal. The Ravens offense is decent between the 20s, but they can't punch it in. And that's a problem. But I think the Lions, without the redoubtable running of Montgomery, is going to put too much pressure on Jared Goff. And that's a problem. I think that the Ravens at home have a slight edge, and I think they can pull the game out. The pick here is Baltimore. Next on the docket, we have the 4-2 Bills taking on the 1-5 Patriots at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Mass. 1 p.m. kickoff on CBS. The Bills are 9.5-point favorites. Last week, the Bills defeated the Giants 14-9, while the Patriots lost to the Raiders 23-17. Fast fact here, the Patriots' 1-5 start is their worst since 1995. Now, the Bills tried mightily to give away what should have been an easy game away. They tried to give this game away with the Giants and face another hapless, hopeless team in the Patriots. The Pats used to be the bully in this matchup, but those days are long gone. The Pats are Patriots. Try it again. The Pats are no good, period. Mac Jones is a mess, and the freewheeling Bills defense will make his afternoon long and painful. The Bills offense struggled against the Giants, but should find the sledding a lot easier against the Pats. This game is close in the fourth quarter. I am going to be really, really disappointed. Pick here is Buffalo. Let's take a time out. Come back with the late game, Sunday and the Monday night game. Sports from the Hoodwood rolls on after this.
Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for the most honest insight, thorough analysis, and unfiltered opinion on the world of sports. Now, once again, here's the man of the hour, After Hours, your host, KJ Green.
You're back in the Hoodwood, and on we go with the Week 7 NFL picks. Let's turn to the late docket, shall we? First on the late docket is the 1-5 Cardinals taking on the 3-2 Seahawks at Lumen Field in Seattle. 4-5 kickoff on Fox. The Seahawks are 8-point favorites. Last week, the Cardinals lost to the Rams 26-9, while the Seahawks lost to the Bengals 17-13. The fast fact here is the Cards have led each of their last two games at the half and lost both of them by double digits. The Cardinals are hopeless. They keep trying and they come out fast only to fade badly and are headed to the Great White North to take on a Seahawks team stung by a tough loss to the Bengals on the road. The Cardinals aren't any good. Their offense is punchless. I think they're sleepwalking trying to get Caleb Williams. Seahawks are in no mood to play nice at home, and this game is going to get ugly real quick. Seahawks at home should be good for the lock, so that's why I'm making the Seahawks the Hoodwood lock of the week. Next on the docket, we have 3-2 Steelers taking on the 3-3 Rams at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. 4:05 kickoff on Fox. Rams are 3-point favorites. Last week, the Steelers were on their bye, while the Rams defeated the Cardinals 26-9. Fast fact here is the Steelers have never beaten the Rams in Los Angeles in the regular season. They've gone 0-10. Their only win against the Rams in California was in Super Bowl 14. That game was in Pasadena, not the LA Memorial Coliseum or now SoFi Stadium. The Steelers make a rare visit to LA to take on the Rams and are coming off their bye, so they're well rested. The Rams offense is coalescing nicely as veteran Matthew Stafford has Cooper Kupp to throw to, as well as young receiver Puka Nacua. I just like that name. And their offense is coming together nicely. Now, the Steelers' defense, always led by menacing linebacker TJ Watt, will have something to say about that offense. But something tells me that the Steelers' offense ain't any good. And with Kenny Pickett still struggling to make his offense go, I think it's going to be a tough, low-scoring game, and that the Rams should be able to keep their West Coast dominance over the Steelers intact. The pick here is Los Angeles. Next on the docket, we have the 2-3 Packers taking on the 1-5 Broncos at Empower Field in Mile High in Denver. Try that again. Next on the docket, we have the 2-3 Packers taking on the 1-5 Broncos at Empower Field at Mile High in Denver. 4:25 kickoff on CBS. The Packers are favored by a single point. Last week, the Packers were on their bye, while the Broncos were defeated by the Chiefs 19-8. Fast fact here is the Packers have been outscored 54-6 in the first half of their last three games. Packers come into the game like Steelers off their bye and head to a rare visit to Denver to take on the hapless Broncos, who just can't get out of their own way. Played decent against the Chiefs, held them to 19 points, and still lost. The Packers' offense is kind of sputtering under Jordan Love. They take their time getting started, but once they get started, they can put on the points. And I think that the Denver Magic is pretty much kaput. I think Green Bay can go into a road venue and steal a win. The pick here is Green Bay. Next on the docket, we have the 2-2 Chargers taking on the 5-1 Chiefs at GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. 4:25 kickoff on CBS. The Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites. Last week, the Chargers lost to the Cowboys 20-17, while the Chiefs defeated the Broncos 19-8. Fast fact is that the Chargers have netted 21 sacks in the last three games. That's their total for the season, and it's third in the league. The Chargers fought like a scout. Literally, the fans were fighting Cowboy fans at SoFi Stadium, but they came out on the short end. I don't know about the fights, but I know they came out on the short end of the scoreboard. They had Kansas City to take on the Chiefs, who played ragged against the Broncos, but still were able to get away with the win. Justin Herbert needs to find some consistency. He has not played a really consistent game over the past few weeks, and playing against the freewheeling Chiefs, that's not going to be a good thing. Patrick Mahomes is way overdue for a breakout game, and I think he gets it here in Kansas City. The pick here are the Chiefs, Kansas City. Next on the docket, we have the Sunday night game. 5-1 Dolphins taking on the 5-1 Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. 8:20 kickoff on NBC. The Eagles are 2.5-point favorites. Last week, the Dolphins defeated the Panthers 42-21, while the Eagles lost to the Jets 20-14. Fast fact, here's the Dolphins' 5 wins have come against teams with a combined 5-24 record. The Dolphins flew high against another weak team, crushing the Panthers after spotting a 14-0 lead. They head to South Philly to take on the Eagles, who are going to be sporting their old-school Kelly green jerseys for this Monday nighter. Will it bring back memories of Randall Cunningham, Reggie White, and the old gang green defense? Who knows? The Eagles, stung after a dumb loss to the Jets, are going to be looking for a little bit of get back. And even though the Dolphins are in their way, they are not going to be the team that is going to be able to pile up points. The Eagles defense is way too good to give up a whole bunch of points, and I think the Eagles offense will round right back into form and score points and win the game. Pick here is Philadelphia. Finally, the game of Monday, October 23rd, the Monday Nighter, is 5-1 49ers taking on the 2-4 Vikings at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. 8:15 kickoff on ABC and ESPN. The 49ers are 7-point favorites. Last week, 49ers lost to the Browns 19-17, while the Vikings defeated the Bears 19-13. Fast fact here is that the Vikings have won the last 6 meetings between the two teams in Minnesota. This is only the Niners' second visit to Minneapolis in the last 10 years. Now, the Vikings might be catching the Niners at a good time, hurting with the losses of dynamic running back Christian McCaffrey and wide receiver Deebo Samuel. The Niners struggled on the offensive end and dropped a tight one in Cleveland. The Vikings' offense, though, is a complete mess. A couple steps of being totally impotent and incompetent, with a weak running game and a passing game hamstrung literally and figuratively with absence of Justin Jefferson. The Vikes offense does not need a lot of help in being punchless. The Niners should have enough on defense to keep off the Vikings offense locked down. The Niners offense should be able to scratch out enough points to win in what wholly looks like a boring game in the making. The pick here is San Francisco. And there you have it. Thursday quick pick is going to be the Buccaneers at the Bills at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park. 8:15 kickoff next Thursday on Amazon Prime. The Bills are favored by 4 points. The pick here is Buffalo. Last week was 9-5 with the lock and Thursday picks being correct and the upset being incorrect. Overall, I'm 55-37, 5-1 on the locks, 1-5 on the upsets. Let's take our final timeout. Come back with the Hoodwood High Five, Fat Dap, Head Slap, and the final word from the Wood. Sports from the Hoodwood heads down the home stretch after this. Hi everyone, I'm KJ Green, and if you're looking to reach a broad audience for your advertising dollars, you're first the way you are. Advertise right here in the Hoodwood. If you need sponsor creators as well, Black Women Productions is pricing. Make commercial content, drive sales, and get results. You send your inquiries to ads@blackbanditproductions.com. Black Bandit Productions sounds, ideas, and images 21st century.
You're tuned into Sports from the Hoodwood, the internet's foremost location for no-nonsense commentary, insight, and opinions on the world of sports. Here now live in living color, black by popular demand. Your host, KJ Green.
Rounding third and headed for home here in the Hoodwood, we'll finish up strong with the Hoodwood Hot 5, Fat Dap and Head Slap, and the final word from the Wood. This week's Hoodwood Hot 5, as been the last few weeks, is the college Hot 5. The 5 teams I think are the best in the country. It doesn't necessarily follow the AP Writers Poll. It's just from something from the Hoodwood Power Index. I would explain the Hoodwood Power Index to you, but it would take about 3.5 hours, and algebra that I don't think you would understand. So, let's get into the Hoodwood Hot 5. Dropping out of the Hot 5, as basically warned, the loser of the Oregon-Washington game would be bounced from the Hoodwood Hot 5. And that happened to Oregon, who are now 5-1, 2-1 in the Pac-12, after losing to then 5th-ranked Washington, 36-33. Their next game is this Saturday against Washington State. Also dropping out, which I usually don't knock out teams when they're on a bye, but this one, I just figured it needed to be done. Oklahoma, who is still unbeaten, 6-0, 3-0 in the Big 12. They were on their bye last week. Next week they have Central Florida at home. So that means there are not one, but 2 new teams in the Hoodwood Hot 5. Well, technically there's only one, but one of them dropped out because there was a tie for 5th. Our 5th-ranked team is the Florida State Seminoles. They are 6-0, 4-0 in the ACC. Last week, they were not ranked. Like I said, they're a new entry in the Hoodwood Hot 5. And last week, they defeated Syracuse 41-3. Their next game is against Duke in Tallahassee. Our 4th-ranked team is the Washington Huskies, who are 6-0, 3-0 in the Big... Try that again. Our 4th-ranked team is the Washington Huskies, who are 6-0, 3-0 in the Pac-12. They were ranked a tie for 5th last week, and they defeated Oregon 36-33 in an absolutely thrilling game. Their next game is staying at home in Seattle as they take on the last place Arizona State Sun Devils. Our 3rd-ranked team is the Ohio State Buckeyes. They are 6-0, 3-0 in the Big 10. They defeated Purdue 41-7. Their next game is against Penn State at Ohio Stadium this Saturday. Our number 2 team remains the Georgia Bulldogs, who are 7-0, 4-0 in this SEC. Their last game, they were last week ranked 2nd, and they defeated Vanderbilt 37-20. Their next week, they're on a bye, and their next game is against Florida in the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, or whatever they call it now, but it's the Georgia-Florida game in Jacksonville on October 28th. And our number 1 team remains, last week number 1, this week number 1, the Michigan Wolverines. They are 7-0, 4-0 in the Big 10. Last week they defeated Indiana 52-7 at the Big House. Their next game is this Saturday against in-state rival Michigan State. That's my Hot 5. What's yours? Now, our Fat Dap of the week goes to the San Francisco Giants. Now, they are looking for a manager after dismissing Gabe Kapler at the end of the 23 season. They are putting out feelers to Alyssa Knockin, who is a Giants coach, for their managerial position. Now, this is interesting. Knockin would be the first female to be the coach or manager of any professional sport that is, that is man-based. The San Francisco Giants might get knocked. I know there's an idiot named Aubrey Huff, and I called him an idiot, that doesn't like it and thinks it's setting the game back. I think it's progressive. If the person interviewed is good enough to have the tools to be able to evaluate, to be able to manage, why can't they run a ball club or a football team or a basketball team or a hockey team? It's the knowledge up here that translates on the field is what counts. Fat dap to the San Francisco Giants for at least going in a progressive direction. Now, our head slap of the week goes to Kairi Godrednik. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name, but this former WNBA player, who was the ex-girlfriend of former Houston Rockets guard, now soon to be Oklahoma City Thunder guard, Kevin Porter Jr., now says that, quote, he didn't hit me during an alleged fight in a New York City hotel last month that led to Porter's arrest. Now, the whole situation is very ugly. Abuse is serious. And Porter was arrested, then the charges were subsequently dropped. He pled not guilty to a couple other assault charges that are still pending. Now, the Rockets traded Porter about as quickly as possible, and Oklahoma City told Porter in no uncertain terms that they were going to waive him. That is a PR nightmare, having somebody who was allegedly abusive. But what's worse is to have somebody walk back the comments saying, oh, it didn't happen. Abuse is serious. Reporting abuse is serious. And it's something that needs to be taken serious. A man raising his hand to a female is not acceptable. Anyone raising their hand to anybody in a domestic situation is never acceptable. Man, woman, woman, man, it doesn't matter. Abuse is never, ever right, and abuse that is alleged and found out to be false is even worse, because that's gonna ruin someone's reputation, and you don't play with someone's reputation. The head slap in the figurative sense, as I always say, head slap, because I'm not trying to be physical, to Kajri Gandredzik, who should know better. And now, without much further ado, let's go to the final word from the Wood. Money changes people. I wonder how the person who hit that $1 billion Powerball last week is going to be changed. I know if I had hit it, I'd have moved Mom into the house that she used to live in, and the look of this show would probably dramatically change. And that's just for starters. I know money would change me in some way. Now, this will make sense later. Stay with me. I remember the first time I saw Ja Morant, the little fearless dude from Murray State that was making Sports Center highlights on a regular basis with a litany of sick dunks and mind-bending scoring abilities that made OVC hoops a must-watch. Ja's play captured the imagination of hoop junkies, and after 2 years at Murray State, he was the second overall pick of the Memphis Grizzlies in the 2019 draft. His first 3 years in the league were impressive, to say the least, as Morant not only garnered Rookie of the Year honors and All-Rookie First Team honors, but was twice an All-Star starter and was on the All-NBA Second Team twice and it's NBA's Most Improved Player in 2022. He was instantly the face of the Memphis Grizzlies, a team many thought that was a bit staid and boring since moving to the Mid-South in 2001. The Grizzlies have made the playoffs in each of Morant's 4 seasons. Now, Morant signed a 5-year extension with the Grizz in 2022 and looked to be Morant signed a 5-year extension with the Grizz in 2022 and looked to be worth every penny, but it seems like the old song, more money, more problems, went into effect late into that 2022-2023 season. Morant got into an altercation in January after Pacer players got into it with Ja's father, T. There were entourage issues, there were gun issues, there were more gun issues. Some of Morant's associates were banned from the FedEx Forum in Memphis for the altercations. And it did get worse, if it was all possible. Morant was seen in an Instagram live post displaying a gun at a Denver nightclub in March. And for the extremely image-conscious NBA, this was a big no-no. The Grizz announced that Ja would be away from the team for 2 games. And then it was announced that he was getting some sort of stress rehab. Then he met with NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, and it was announced that Morant would be serving an 8-game suspension. He had already missed another 4 games in between time, so he would only be out 2 more games. You would think that Morant would have learned his lesson, but he was instead suspended again in May for flashing a gun during another Instagram live stream. He was subsequently suspended 25 games at the start of the 2023-2024 season. Morant looks like that the money changed him. That he went from a humble, quiet player, bent on improving his craft, to a wannabe gangster who's more concerned about popping bottles, hanging with his crew, and than playing ball. He has the money. He has the subsequent hangers on. He has all the trappings of that hood mentality life of someone that has fallen into money. Money changed Ja, but his antics might cost him more money down the road, as he won't be able to garner a Supermax extension because he won't meet the criteria to make any of the All-NBA teams. Remember, the new collective bargaining agreement has stipulations that the award must be given to players who have played at least 65 games. And even if Morant came off suspension and played every game he was eligible to play in from his end of his suspension on, he would only be able to make 57 games, well short of the requirements. So Ja's thug life has cost him lots of money. Now, as he stands to lose $7.7 million in lost salary because of suspension, and going forward, because he won't be able to sign the big money Supermax that he would be due had he made the All-NBA team, which he was a pretty good shot at doing. It's the money. Stupid. That's what changed Ja and brought the extra hangers on who at present claim to be his friends, but are more concerned about kicking it at the club, flashing the guns, looking good in social media, and popping bottles and getting their grooves on with the hoochies. And I'm oversimplifying it, of course, but the fact of the matter remains that Ja Morant is pissing away a lot of money and a good deal of his talent to keep him and his friends rolling in the deep. It's a real shame because he won't realize what he has lost and how fleeting his friends will be until the money dries up. There's so many cautionary tales about players living that fast life and watching the money disappear and the so-called friends with it. Money changes people, and you hope and pray that somewhere, someone will clue Ja in before he becomes just another cautionary tale. And that is the final word from the Wood. Now, with the music coming up in the background, you know that means that your time here in the Hoodwood is just about done, and thank you so much again for your visit. Now, the show's email is kjgreen@sportsfromthehoodwood.com. Please send me emails regarding show topics, both past and future, questions, comments, and both praise and criticism on the show. I welcome your comments and correspondence, and will try to reply to you in a timely manner. Now, the show's website is sportsfromthehoodwood.com. It has a back catalog of shows in both audio and video form dating back 11 years. You can check that out if there are any shows that you may have missed. You can join the debate and conversation on the Sports from the Hoodwood Facebook page. It has video podcast simulcasts of previous shows as well as topics, funny stuff I find on the web, plenty of great sports debate, and lots more. I do post often and respond to member posts frequently. The video versions are also on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe and smash that like button for more great content. The link to the podcast is also on the show's tribal feed, which is at Hoodwood Sports. I find a lot of interesting stuff there as well, and I do respond to posts and comments, so you can like and follow there as well. The audio version is on Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, Google Podcasts, and iTunes from Apple, as well as a number of other fine podcast platforms and providers. If the Hoodwood is not on your favorite podcast platform or provider, ask for it. Drop me a line and I will do what I can to get it on there as quickly as possible. Special thanks as always to Rage Pictures for its continuing production assistance and website development. So, that's it from the Hoodwood, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Until next time, fellow sports fans, I'm KJ Green, 30.
Sports from the Hoodwood is a Black Bandit Productions and Enterprises presentation of a 551 audio and films production.